we've taken this Punnett square where we examine the public health benefit versus special interest benefit. We've gotten rid of all the things that have no discernible quality, that can't tell us anything informative, and we just ignore that. These are our white swans. Collecting more white swans does not tell us anything about the falsifiability of the white swan hypothesis. Instead, we want to narrow our search space to black swans. And so, ultimately, we're only really looking for things that are disproving of the null hypothesis. So we're looking for whatever this alternate hypothesis evidence would be. Okay, so that's increase in things that harm the public because they benefit the special interest, and decrease of things that benefit the public because they don't benefit the special interest. And that looks like this. And so this is the simplest evidence we can find that would be our black swan events to disconfirm the null hypothesis. And to make that really clear, we have these two basic predictions. Number one is that when things harm the public health but benefit special interests, these things will be promoted. If we found evidence of this, then we would be finding a black swan event that would debunk the idea that there was no kind of conspiracy. Similarly, another black swan event, if we found things that had benefit to the public health but did not benefit special interests, and these were suppressed, again, this would be another black swan event that we could look for to identify whether there was some level of conspiracy against public health for benefit to special interests. Okay, so far we've talked about the kinds of predictions we could make under our alternate hypothesis, that there is some level of conspiracy during the crisis that we've seen over the last few years. Now, we've narrowed it down to two really, really clear predictions that we can make on the basis of our so-called black swan events, that when things harm the public but benefit special interests, we should see these things as being promoted if there is some kind of conspiracy. Similarly, we should find that the things that benefit the public but would harm special interests, we would find that these things have been suppressed. And this would be another black swan event that we can use to disprove our null hypothesis, with the null hypothesis being that there is no kind of conspiracy whatsoever. Okay, and previously we showed that the first prediction is in this top right corner, where there's public harm, still promoted because it benefits the conspirators. And in the bottom left-hand corner, we have things that are suppressed because even though they benefit the public, they have no benefit to the conspirators. But there are other edge cases that we can look at. So for instance, we might find that things that have no benefit to the conspirators but harm the public are ignored. So anything that would harm the public can be ignored if it has no direct benefit to the conspirators. And similarly, things that benefit the public but don't benefit the conspirators might also be ignored rather than suppressed. So these are edge cases that, if we found these, could be considered tentative evidence or circumstantial evidence or additional evidence that we could use in favor of the prediction being that there is some level of conspiracy. And of course, we have things that are not particularly beneficial or harmful for the public, but because they have specific interest, but because they have specific benefit to the conspirators, they are promoted. Not because of the public health benefit, but because of benefit to the special interests. Okay, and then simultaneously, things that have no particular benefit or harm to the public, but are actively suppressed because allowing the public to engage in them would be detrimental to the special interests. So generally speaking, we have two basic clear hypotheses that if we found evidence for these would be very, very informative about a conspiracy. But we also have other types of evidence that we can look for. And so here we have these 4 edge cases giving us a total of 6 predictions. Predictions 1 and 2 we've already talked about, and predictions 3 through 6 involve some level of ignorance or neutrality to one or the other party. And so the third prediction is that it's neutral to the public health, but it benefits the special interests, and so that gets promoted. Fourth hypothesis or prediction is that there's public health harm, but no benefit to the special interests, so it's just completely ignored. It's not even talked about. We have things that are for the public health benefit, but again, it's neutral to the SI, to the special interest, and so again, it's just ignored. And then finally, things that are neutral for public health, it doesn't benefit the public either way, but because it would harm the special interest group, we see these things actively suppressed. So this is now a collection of predictions that all are borne out directly from our initial hypotheses. And so here now we have a set of specific predictions, all of which are falsifiable against the null hypothesis. Okay, so this is how we would create a clear set of scientific predictions to examine whether there is some kind of conspiracy or not. And we can articulate it using this diagram to easily show where evidence would fall according to our predictions. Okay, and so that is how we could use basic scientific hypothesis testing and apply it to conspiracy thinking and evaluate whether we have any grounds for coming to a conclusion that there was some level of conspiracy using the COVID-19 pandemic leveled at increasing the benefit to special interests at the cost of the public health. Okay, so that's how a scientist might predict for a conspiracy using falsifiable hypotheses and predictions.